Greetings, I'm Dr. Sean Reed, and today I want to talk about more seduction and dating after the age of 45. Actually, more specifically, I'm really talking about guys in their 50s and 60s, how they can date successfully and seduce women, and today's video is going to tell you how to do that. I've had a couple of videos on this topic today, but there's a lot more stuff that I need to tell you, and so that's what today's video is going to be about. So if you're an older guy, listen up. I'm going to tell you how to meet and seduce women, and I have lots of high quality women in your life. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is, and I've mentioned this before, we come from a different generation. Okay, when I'm dealing with my younger guys in my 20s and 30s, a lot of these guys simply have had no success with women whatsoever. And so a lot of what I do with these guys is I'm just trying to get them to learn how to talk to women, how to approach women, how to build relationships. Older guys are different, and I've talked about this before. Older guys come from a generation where we were much more aggressive about approaching and seducing women. One of the big things is, there's been this cancel culture and this big media push that, promotes this claim, this narrative that seducing and pursuing women is a bad thing and that you shouldn't do it. And so I think that's kind of had a corrupting influence on the young guys. Us older guys, we come from a generation where we haven't been brainwashed that way. And so a lot of my older guys were at one time very good at approaching women, at talking to women, seducing women. In the 80s and 90s, there was no mass media campaign against this. So we're guys that have had success, that have been able to approach women, that have been able to seduce women. Many of us have been married. The problem is many of us have been divorced and have had bad relationships. So what's happened with a lot of my older guys is they know how to approach women. They know how to get women, but they're just at the point where they say, I don't want to do it anymore. Women today aren't worth it. And today I want to argue that that's not necessarily the case. There are good women out there. You just need to have a system and a program of getting them. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that today. So like I said, the media has been a big problem in all of this. And one of the big lies promoted by media, and I think too many of us have bought into this false narrative, is that women today don't want or need men. So if you go on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, you'll see all this material, in our TV and our national television and things of that nature. You'll see this big push, this narrative that women don't need or want men. You guys, that's simply not true. Okay, I know one of the interesting things about social media is on Facebook, I've been in touch with a lot of my old girlfriends. Okay, some are happily married. Like I said, I was fortunate. Because of my system, I dated a lot of very high quality women, and those women are still married, are successfully married and still married today. But a lot of girlfriends I had are single and older, and trust me, they are not happy. They want men. So you guys got to understand, there are lots of women out there that want men. Okay, here's kind of the way this whole thing works. Okay, you need to understand the process that these women have gone through to understand how and why you want to approach and integrate them into your life. Women in their 20s are in their prime. Okay, that's what everyone wants. They're young, they're beautiful, they're fertile. So women in their 20s are heavily pursued by men. Many of them get married, many of them get in relationships. What happens is these relationships fail in the 30s, but women still are stuck in this mindset, thinking that they are highly desirable if they're over 35, just the way they were in their 20s. And the reality is that is not the case. Okay, women after 35 are not as highly valued. So these women think they're the shit, excuse my language. They're 35, 40 years old, just coming out of a divorce. But what's happened is by their mid-40s, they realize that's not true. After 5, 10 years of living single and realizing that men don't want them, don't pursue them the way they did in their 20s, they have a change in mindset. And the result of this is one or two of two things. Some women become bitter, they become man haters, and those are the kind of women we want to screen out. On the other hand, women can go another path. A lot of these women realize, hey, I'm 45 years old. I'm in my 40s. I don't want to be single forever. I don't want to be 65 and living with cats. I better do something about that. And these women become the kind of women you want to have a relationship with. And guys, as we get older, there are many more single women than single men. So as we get older, there are a lot of low quality women that we want to deal with. And I think those kind of women get promoted on our media. And a lot of guys think that that's the only kind of women out there. But I'm telling you guys, there are a lot of women out there that want to have relationships, that want to work hard. They don't want to make the mistakes they made in their 20s and their 30s. They're not going to reject men. They're not going to be rude to men. They're not going to be disrespectful. And these women are older and will make very good girlfriends, or you can have very good relationships with them. Okay. All right. So how do we get these women? Well, I want to, I've talked about this in other videos. As we get older, pickup and seduction changes. Okay. You don't have to do all the stuff. When a woman's 23 and gorgeous and every guy at the club is hitting on her, every guy anywhere is hitting her, you have to do other ways. You have to do things to distinguish yourself from the crowd. When you get older, you don't need to do that. All you need to do is you have to have that minimum level of acceptable appearance. Okay. So I was talking to an old girlfriend of mine. This gal was gorgeous. As close to a 10 as you're going to see when it was my girlfriend over 40 years ago. And she's older now, still attractive for her age. She just had a facelift and all that. She, when we're talking about what she, I was talking to her, I'm like, well, what if a guy is 15 pounds overweight? She's like, I can work with that. I'm like, well, what if a guy doesn't make 60 figures? She's like, man, if he just makes enough to support himself, I'm fine with that. So a lot of these women become very compliant. And she would make a good girlfriend. I'm single now. Excuse me, I'm married now. Of course, I'm not going to pursue that. But women like that are out there. So we talked about this in another video, guys. All you need to do is you have that minimum level of attraction. A lot of guys really let themselves go when they were older, and quite frankly, they become disgusting and unappealing. All you have to do is go to the gym, eat right, dress well, and you're going to pass that minimum level of acceptance for these women. It's like me. I weigh 228 pounds and my ideal weight is 218. I've got a little extra around my midsection. Okay. But I still work out very hard. I eat right. I have good shoulders, good arms, good chest. I have a good flare to my back. My legs are very conditioned. So even though I'm carrying a little bit of weight in my midsection, I am acceptable to women over the age. I'm going to be 63. I am still acceptable looking to women over 45. So you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be acceptable, and you have to make the best of what you have. In another video, I argued that all you need to be is a distinguished gentleman. Okay, so again, grooming, I need a haircut. Grooming, I need to trim my eyebrows. If I were going to go out this weekend, I'd get a haircut and get my eyebrows trimmed, which I'm probably going to do in a couple of days. But all you need to do is pass that minimum level of acceptance. Okay, now, also, you have to understand that older women are still attractive. Okay, so, a lot of people say, oh, a 50-year-old woman has used goods. She's been ran through, et cetera, et cetera. She's had a couple of kids. I'm going to tell you what a good friend of mine said to me. He was divorced and he was married. He's about 55. He had a girlfriend. Girlfriend was 50. And if you excuse my vulgarity, he's like, you know what? 50-year-old pussy is good pussy. So, and I thought about that a little bit. I remember the main difference women go through is childbirth. So a woman will be 23, never had any children. She's nice and tight, right? She goes through childbirth. That changes things. And in her 30s, she's a different woman than she was. Her vagina is different than it was when she was 23. What I'm telling you is, though, nothing really bad happens after that point. So with my wife, I was thinking about this the other day, and again, I don't mean to be vulgar, but she's 48. Her pussy is every bit as good as it was at 38. So this larger point here, guys, is 50-year-old pussy is good pussy. Okay, so these 50-year-old women, a lot of guys say, oh, I don't want to date a 50-year-old woman. If you're 60, you have to understand that that is what you're realistically going to get. So if a girl has good attitude, she takes care of herself, she exercises, she treats you well, a 50-year-old woman is perfectly acceptable. So you could be 60, 62, 63. And if you go after women over the age of 45, 50, these women can still bring a lot of value into your life. Okay, so again, last time I was talking about where do we meet these women, I was talking about nightclubs. If you go to, my advice in regard to nightclubs is to go to a place that has older women. My friend Walter and I, we go to 3 different clubs. 2 of them specifically are populated by older people. The guys are in their 50s and 60s, and the women are all over 40. Okay, we go to another club that's kind of mixed, that has a lot of younger women, but it also has a lot of older women, okay? And my friend Walter, he just turned 58. I'm going to be 63. We still have a lot of success meeting. I'm married. I'm not going to cheat on my wife, but I go out and I dance with women and I meet women and I talk to women and I have success, even though I'm 63. I'm doing is I'm targeting older women. I'm targeting women over the age of 45, and I have success with them. Okay, so one last thing I want to talk about is the fact that as we get older, there are more single women relative to single men. As I talked about before, women usually go one of 2 ways after the age of 40. Some become bitter and angry and man-hating, but some don't. So again, just like I argue with my younger guys, we're going to screen these women. Does she talk to you? Does she give you her phone number? Is she pleasant, right? When you call her, does she accept your date idea, or does she kind of try to negotiate? So again, we're going to be, there are a lot of available women as we get older. Some are good, some are not good, but we're going to screen them just as we would if we were younger, okay? And again, just as I argue when we're younger, my advice is to build a 3-woman rotation. So if you're 55, 60 years old, your goal is still going to build a rotation of 3 high-quality women. These women are just going to be older. All right, guys. So this video is starting to run a little long. If you want to learn more about my system, please check out my book, The Dating Toolbox, available on Amazon.com. If you like what you heard today, if you like what you saw, please hit that like and subscribe button. I want to build a community of men getting women to love us and to stay in love with us, and happy dating.